Hey guys, this is the Overthinker and welcome to the channel. Today I'm just going to be talking about the Lions preseason as well as the roster and kind of what they look like and what can we really expect this year. They just have finished their initial 53-man roster, and there hasn't been anything really going on. I was expecting maybe one move to sign a notable player, especially maybe on the defense, but it doesn't look like that's going to really happen. Now, I think they did go out and sign Eli Harold, a pretty decent linebacker out of San Francisco. I think he's starting caliber, and I think that's really good because Jared Davis did not look good in the preseason, and I know the preseason isn't really that important, and it's you're not really going to show your scheme in preseason, but when you have guys just missing tackles in the open field, that's not something you can fix with scheme. I think that's generally just like not somebody who's ready to be a starting middle linebacker in this league. And maybe that's what Jared Davis is at this point. He's a very talented player, and he can make plays, but he's definitely not been looking good in the preseason. Definitely missed a lot of tackles. He just did not look good, man. And there were a lot of big runs that could have been easily negated if he had just followed, the design of the play. So yeah, definitely something to worry about going forward. Jared Davis, I don't know if he's gonna start this year. I would assume so because he definitely has a very high potential to be a very good player. But honestly, he looks worse than he did last year in preseason so far. So I don't know, maybe they're running some kind of defense that makes it more reliant on a middle linebacker making a lot of plays, but I mean, he has definitely not looked great. So it is very good that they signed Eli Harold. I think he's a guy that could come in if Jared Davis is really struggling, and help him learn the position a little better. Now I'm going to be linking a few things in the description here. These are going to be just a few articles. I think one's from the Detroit Free Press here. Yep, Detroit Free Press. This is going to be Nevin Lawson. Now, for all of us that watched the Lions play the Buccaneers, Nevin Lawson, oh my gosh, I don't even know. I mean, I was saying during last offseason, I was saying during the offseason that we really needed to address the cornerback position and try to bring in a guy that's better than Nevin Lawson, because I do not think Nevin Lawson's really good. After watching this team last year, it really jumps out at you when you watch Nevin Lawson play one-on-one coverage. He gets beat a lot, and it looks like the Buccaneers were just really picking on him all game. I don't know how many receptions he allowed. It must have been at least like 10, and that's a lot. I'm pretty sure when they played like maybe 2 quarters in a preseason game, I think they had 4 receptions against them, maybe 5 receptions in the first drive. And that's a pretty big deal, especially because really, if you're running any kind of man coverage, it doesn't really matter what kind of scheme you have. When your corner's lined up outside one-on-one versus the other team's receiver, it's really just your cornerback versus his receiver. And Nevin Lawson really doesn't look like he can handle that at this point. So, I really thought the Lions had to try and get another corner on this team that was good. I was hoping Deshaun Shedd would have made this team and possibly pushed for that position. But it looks like this year Nevin Lawson's probably going to be starting again most of the time. And it also looks like other teams have been watching film and they know that Nevin Lawson cannot cover your second receiver one-on-one. And that's definitely not a good thing if other teams know that he can't play. They're gonna be going after him a lot, and that's something us Lions fans are gonna have to get used to. Is other teams basically taking advantage of Nevin Lawson a lot. Now, as far as guys that maybe would have been able to replace Nevin Lawson, this is Rotoworld.com. This is just an article. 2018 free agencies, all the cornerbacks. There were so many cornerbacks available. It's almost ridiculous. You had guys like Vontae Davis signing a 1-year, $5 million deal. Like, why would you not even spin the tires on a guy like that who could easily come in and take his spot, you know? I mean, Morris Claiborne, I'm pretty sure he might have got cut, but there are other guys. Rasheed Melvin's not that bad. Patrick Robinson. I mean, there's so many corners here that, I mean, could have came in and possibly challenged for that spot. Nevin Lawson, it says right here, signed a 2-year, $9.2 million a year, when Vontae Davis signed a 1-year, $5 million a year. So you're basically paying the same per year for Nevin Lawson as Vontae Davis. And I think Vontae Davis is a much better player. And even when you look at Nevin Lawson's contract, $9.2 million a year isn't really much for a starting cornerback. That's really not much. That shows that they don't have much faith in him to be a starter. But also, if you didn't have much faith in him, why didn't you draft a cornerback? Why didn't you sign another starting caliber corner? I mean, there were plenty of guys. David Amerson has started in the past. Orlando Scandrick has dealt with injuries, but when he's healthy, he's not horrible. I mean, there were so many corners that we could have signed in free agency, but we just didn't. And obviously there were guys like Malcolm Butler as well, Tyrann Mathieu, Prince Amukamara, EJ Gaines signed with the Browns. There were plenty of corners. TJ Carey too. I think TJ Carey could have definitely came in and challenged for that roster spot. Challenged for that starting job, even though he's probably more of a slot guy. I thought he could have come in and done that. So I definitely think the Lions should have probably addressed cornerback position in the draft or free agency. Did not happen. And right now it does not look good. And obviously this isn't final because, the season doesn't start until a week from now, and a lot of things could happen between now and then. I mean, they could definitely go out and sign somebody, try to trade for somebody. That's what I think they might do. Maybe trade a 5th or 6th round pick for somebody who could just compete and, take some snaps away from Nevin Lawson at least. I think that would be good. Yeah, and here is mlive.com. Basically, it's just Lions 53-man roster. Nothing crazy that we weren't really expecting as far as the final roster. Now, I know I've seen some Lions fans on there on Facebook or whatever, just, we're mad that they cut Jake Rudock. Jake Rudock, I mean, he played for Michigan, yeah, but he did not look good at any point in the preseason. He maybe made a few decent plays the entire preseason, and he played a lot of snaps, man. He definitely had an opportunity to make this team, and he just couldn't do it. It looks like Matt Castle's backup for now. I don't know if they might try to get another backup. Matt Castle didn't look much better. I think the reason they kept Matt Castle because he's done more good things in the past, and they're hoping that he will be better than he was in the preseason. And I guess that's just my opinion. Keeping 5 running backs is a lot, quite a bit actually, and I'm not sure. I don't think there's a point in having a Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah because they're very similar players, and I think Riddick's better. And Amir Abdullah, he did look good in the preseason. However, a lot of players look good in the preseason. And we've seen Amir Abdullah play at this point. We've seen him play a lot in the NFL. And I don't know. Maybe they're going to try and trade him. Maybe that's why they didn't release him outright. But honestly, what is the team going to give up for a guy like Amir Abdullah? Maybe a 6th round pick, 7th round pick. I honestly couldn't see much more than that, considering a guy like Marcus Peters got traded for a 3rd round pick. Marcus Peters is one of the best corners in the league. Amir Abdullah is basically a special teams running back. And then looking at wide receiver, I do think it's a pretty good group. I did like Brandon Powell. I probably would have kept, I think it was Dontez Ford. He was making a lot of plays in the preseason. I thought maybe he would have made the team, but it looks like they kept this other guy, Bradley Marquez. And from what I have been able to read, Bradley Marquez is more of a special teams guy, but he's pretty much a special teams ace at this point, looks like. And maybe having a special teams ace is more valuable than, having a 6th receiver basically being a developmental receiver. But yeah, Brandon Powell did look really good. Maybe, I'm not sure if he might be returning kicks this year. That's what I'm thinking, because if he returns punts, that means that Jamal Agnew can't return punts, and Jamal Agnew was probably the best punt returner in the league last year. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But that also means that if Brandon Powell is returning punts, that Jamal Agnew can play more secondary, and I think Jamal Agnew should definitely be playing more cornerback because I think he has a lot of potential, and I think if you honestly put him in there instead of Nevin Lawson, I really don't know how much of a drop off there would be, and I think giving him that opportunity would definitely possibly help him, learn the position better, so he could maybe play in the NFL and be a good starter someday. Now, as far as tight ends, there wasn't really much of a surprise here. However, Hakeem Valles, I think is his name. I think that's the guy. Yeah, he was a guy, who just made a lot of plays in the preseason, and then, that helped him make the roster. As far as like the starter, I'm assuming it's going to be Michael Roberts, but honestly, no idea. I don't really know if any of these guys really pull themselves away from the pack. I think they're all just kind of very similar. I think Luke Wilson's definitely the most athletic, and then Michael Roberts looks like maybe the best blocker, but he doesn't even look like a great blocker, but maybe he's the best blocker. I don't know. So yeah, it doesn't really look like we have a clear-cut starter, and we definitely could see a lot of players at that position getting snaps, and I think that's very possible. But when I was watching the preseason, I'm pretty sure Michael Roberts was almost always playing with the first team. And the reason I just don't think he's going to be the outright starter is because he didn't really look great. He didn't look horrible, but he didn't look great either. So I'm really not sure who's going to be like the starter or whatever. But then again, maybe they're not going to really run an offense that's highly dependent on the tight end making a lot of plays. Now, looking at the offensive line, there's really nothing surprising here. Other than Corey Robinson getting traded, I believe he was traded for a 7th-round pick. That is outstanding. He looked really bad last year. I was really surprised to see that he got traded instead of cut, which is really good. That's definitely better than just outright cutting him and getting something, because I believe we traded. I don't know how. I know the Lions traded for him last year. I don't remember how much they gave up, but I'm pretty sure they traded for him. Then on defensive line, there really was no other surprises either. I think Jemiah Ledbetter was probably the best player that got cut, but honestly, all those other players, it was really nothing too surprising. Pretty much all those guys were going to make the roster, I think. So yeah, I guess that's just my opinion. I didn't really think any of those other guys were great. And also, it looks like Miles Killebrew is definitely going to be playing more linebacker this year, which I think is great. He's not the best in zone coverage, and I think he's definitely good against the run. So maybe that'll be a really good thing. Maybe he'll be able to play a lot more and be on the field, because I think he's a more natural linebacker. I'm pretty sure he's like 240 pounds or something. And he can run and he can get off blocks. So I think linebackers is his most natural position, and I honestly don't know why they ever played him at safety. Then looking at this secondary, they're returning pretty much everybody that they have from last year and adding in Tracy Walker. And I don't know if Charles Washington was on the team last year. But Deshaun Shedd was a pretty surprise cut, but he didn't look good in the preseason, so I guess it kind of makes sense. But yeah, looking at defensive back, it looks like Quandre Diggs will be able to actually play safety this year, which is something I've been talking about for a very long time. I'm pretty sure I tweeted about that in like 2016. Like, dude, this guy is not a cornerback. He is a safety. You got to play him at safety. Holy crap. But yeah, I think there's a very good opportunity here for Quandre Diggs to become a pretty good player. He's definitely showed a lot of good potential, and he's made a lot of big plays, not just in the preseason, but in last year. When Tavon Wilson got hurt, Quandre Diggs pretty much came in. It was better than Tavon Wilson for those last 3 games of the season. But yeah, I guess final 53-man roster, nothing too surprising. The only thing I thought might have happened that would have surprised a lot of people, I don't think they would have actually done it, but cutting Jared Davis, I don't know. If they had cut him, I'm pretty sure fans would be very pissed, considering we have not had a first-round pick stick on this team for a very long time outside of, like, Matthew Stafford. Outside of Matthew Stafford, I think Taylor Decker is the last first-round pick that's still on the team. So So I mean, that's pretty much god awful when it comes to the first round picks. There's not many teams you'll find in the NFL that have less first round picks on their team, and I think that might have been something that would have ultimately prevented them from cutting him, just because of the history and how bad we have been in the first round. They probably would have gave him a chance no matter what. But yeah, I mean, if you look at Pro Football Focus, if you look people on Detroit Free Press and beat writers and people who actually covered the NFL, Jared Davis has not been good at all, and he's been one of the worst linebackers in the league in the preseason so far. But yeah, there's also Zach Zinter in the injury reserve, which is pretty surprising. But I don't know why they didn't just cut him. I don't know. Maybe that's just for emergency or something. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, that is going to be the video here. Pretty much just we were looking at the preseason, kind of what happened, as well as looking at what the starters really look like, because that's what's important. Overall, I thought the offensive line wasn't great, but I think it's probably good enough, especially in the run game. It looks a lot better. And yeah, I'll be making a couple more videos today. I would definitely want to make one about the Khalil Mack trade. That is crazy. That is not good for the Lions at all. Also, maybe I think I'm going to talk a little bit about other NFL news, definitely the Aaron Rodgers extension, as well as Aaron Donald, and maybe a couple other things, because I haven't been able to make videos for quite a while. Anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.